Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan, and today we're going to talk about Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. Like I mentioned on the first Uncharted game, as I on my own, or Jordan on his own, play games, we may end up recording kind of additional bonus content for the podcast, just throwing extra episodes up to talk about the games we're playing. And so last time I'd played Uncharted 1, and with my free time I've continued through the Uncharted series playing Uncharted 2. So here we are. With that, description of the game. In this sequel, Drake is drawn back into the treacherous world of thieves and treasure seekers. A mystery artifact propels him to undertake an expedition to the legendary Himalayan valley of Shambhala, where he finds himself embroiled in a dangerous game of cat and mouse against a fugitive war criminal. Pushed to his limits, Drake is forced to risk everything. So, background on the game. This is developed by Naughty Dog. This is the second of 4 Uncharted games in the Nathan Drake series. And then there's also Lost Legacy, which stars Chloe from this game and another character on the cover who I haven't met yet, at least. And then also Naughty Dog is known, of course, for The Last of Us, the Uncharted series, Crash Bandicoot. They're a pretty big studio who makes a lot of good games. This game, Among Thieves, has a few more characters in it than the first game, more named characters. So I wanted to do a quick run through on them. We've got Nathan Drake, of course, our playable character, treasure hunter, hero, all that good stuff. Then we've got Chloe Fraser. She's a treasure hunter as well, and friends, or at least former partners, with Drake and also his former girlfriend. Then we've got Harry Flynn, also a treasure hunter, and I think a former co-thief with Drake as well. Then we've got Zoran Lazarevic. He's a Serbian war criminal. We've got Elena Fisher from the last game, reporter. Then we've got Sully, Victor Sullivan, Drake's friend and mentor. We've got Carl Schaefer, who's an old man who is a former German expeditioner. And then we've got Tenzin, who's a Tibetan village leader. So the game opens up with an injured Nathan Drake in a train car hanging over the edge of a cliff in the winter. And then you have to kind of climb up the train car to get to safety on stable ground. It's awesome. It's a very cool opener, really thrilling. And cool scenery, too, just seeing the mountains like that and the snow. And I don't know, it's awesome. Really great opener, and you climb up to get to safety and you're on solid ground. Then, flashback. You flash back, and Harry Flynn and Chloe Fraser approach Nathan with a job. They can steal this Mongolian oil lamp from a museum in Istanbul. Nate accepts the job when he learns that this lamp should lead them to the treasure of Marco Polo's lost fleet. Once the stakes are good enough, Drake's in. Drake and Flynn, they're able to acquire the lamp. The lamp has a map that shows the lost fleet had been transporting the Cintamani Stone from the mythical city of Shambhala. At this point, Flynn double-crosses Drake, and Drake is arrested and imprisoned for 3 months. Chloe, meanwhile, says that she had no knowledge that Flynn was going to double-cross Drake, and she reaches out to Sully to secure Drake's release, which she's able to do. Drake's looking pretty rough here, like beardy and malnourished and stuff like that. Drake continues on Flynn's trail with Sully. They follow Flynn and Lazarevic to Borneo. So this is where we meet Lazarevic and find out that, While they're there, they locate a temple containing bodies of Marco Polo's crew, and there's a letter from Marco Polo that says the next clue is in Kathmandu, Nepal. And it's in a temple, and it's got kind of a drawing of what that temple would look like. Flynn and his men jump in the tomb soon after. They take the letter, and Nate and Sully are able to escape by jumping off a cliff into a river. All right. Next up, we're in Nepal. But before heading to Nepal to find this temple, Sully backs out. He says that this quest is too risky, I'm too old, that kind of thing. With Lazarevic involved, I don't know if I blame him. He's a pretty rough guy. Bad dude. So Nate teams up with Chloe, though, to head to Nepal And when they get there, they find Lazarevich's mercenary army ravaging the city, looking for the right temple. We realize that Kathmandu is filled with various temples, and one of them has this secret. And it's crazy. Lazarevich's mercenary army is destroying stuff. There's rebel forces fighting back against them. Like, it's chaos. While they're going to the temple, they run into Elena Fisher and her cameraman, who are there because they're trying to track down Lazarevich. Worldwide media, I guess, believes that Lazarevich was killed in a bombing accident. Elena Fisher, though, felt otherwise, so she came here in hopes of finding him and proving to the world that, yes, Lazarevich is alive. This was cool. I really liked this happening, Elena Fisher showing back up at this moment and, of course, for the rest of the story, because I didn't expect it at all. I had no idea that Elena would come back as a character, and her coming back was awesome. I kind of thought with Uncharted 1, I thought she would be kind of like a quote-unquote Bond girl, where, you know, in the James Bond movies, there's a girl who teams up with James Bond, they kind of fall in love, and they work together to defeat the bad guy. And then you don't see her again. I figured that's what was happening in Uncharted, so to have Elena instead come back and play a key role in this was awesome. And, you know, she was an awesome character last time, and getting to spend more time with her here was great, and I can only assume and hope that she's in the future games too. But awesome. Really, really cool. At this point, Nate and Chloe scour the temple, and they discover that the stone and Shambhala are in the Himalayas. When they exit the temple, they find that Jeff has been shot during the crossfire, and Chloe says, "Leave the cameraman behind. We can't deal with this anymore." Drake, though, being the hero, cannot let that happen, so he carries the cameraman. And so it's cameraman being carried by Drake, trying to escape with Chloe, and Elena kind of on point too. At this point, we get captured, or we're about to be captured, so Chloe pulls her gun on Nate because she needs to protect her cover. She works for Lazarevich still, and says, "I caught him." At this point, Lazarevich shows up with Flynn and some of his other men, and Lazarevich executes the cameraman. And he takes Nate's map and the directions of how to get to Shambhala. Flynn then is told by Lazarevich to kill Nate and Elena. Fortunately, though, Nate and Elena are able to escape. At this point, Nate and Elena have to decide what to do. Are we done with this, or are we going to try to stop Lazarevich from getting the Cintamani Stone? Elena decides, okay, let's do it, Nate. And so Elena steals a Jeep, and she's driving it, and Drake's in the side, and he jumps onto a train of Lazarevich's men getting away. Nate then is on the train, and he has to fight his way through a group of soldiers. This is pretty fun. Then you kind of get your first mini boss battle, so to speak. There's this really big buff soldier who tries to kill Drake, and it's not looking good, but Chloe comes to the rescue and kills the boss soldier for you before you're killed by her. Chloe then is pissed at Nate for having brought Elena and the cameraman along earlier, and she refuses to leave with Drake. As they argue, Flynn arrives and he shoots Nate in the abdomen. Chloe then jumps in front of Flynn, giving Drake the chance to get out of there. Soldiers pursue Drake while he's running away injured, and he's cornered with no other choices left. He shoots some propane tanks, blowing up the soldiers, blowing up the train, and it, blows his car off the tracks and off the side of the mountain. It's hanging there, and boom, we return to where the story started. Nate injured, hanging off the side of the train in the snow. This was really cool. I really like this as a storytelling method to start the game, halfway or 1/3 through the game, and then to just jump backwards in time and get back to the present timeline. I thought that was a really cool story mechanism. I like that a lot. Nate then escapes the train, travels through the snowstorm, and he recovers the Purba, which is the key, among the wreckage before passing out. After passing out, Nate wakes up in a Tibetan village where he's reunited with Elena and is introduced to a German man named Karl Schaefer. Schaefer tells Nate that the Purba is the key to finding the Shambhala, and Nate tells him, "I'm not interested anymore." Nate's upset that Chloe wouldn't come with him. I think he thought he could save Chloe too, and kind of saw the risk in this himself. Schaefer, though, says, before you decide that, go check out my former expedition before you make a big call like that. So he sends Nate and Tenzin to find the remains of the men that was in Schaefer's expedition, how he got there. So Schaefer, of course, being an old man who's German in this Tibetan village is sort of strange, so we'll find out his backstory here. They travel through a series of caves, and it also has these kind of Yeti-like creatures. They're like big and have horns and are furry, and have to do battle with them a little bit. They discover that Schaefer's men were SS men on an expedition. At this point, they go back to the village, and they find that Lazarevich's men are attacking the village. Elena tells Nate that they are the reason for it. Because we're in this village, we caused this, we have to help fight for the village. So Tenzin and Nate fight through the village. They end up fighting a tank in the process. That was pretty cool. After this, though, they need to get Schaefer back because Lazarevich has taken Schaefer, and we gotta save him. And they've taken the Purba, the key, as well. When they track and fight Lazarevich's convoy, they get to this abandoned monastery. Abandoned monastery. So this is cool, actually, also. In chasing after Lazarevich, Nate and Elena are in a jeep, and Nate jumps into another car and kills the bad guys on it, and then just car jumps kind of for a while before he gets back with Elena in her car. This was pretty fun, fighting through the convoy, but then we get blown off the cliff, and so then we have to approach the monastery by foot. When they get to the monastery, they find Schaefer mortally wounded, and he tells Nate that he must destroy the Cintamani Stone, and that's why Schaefer's expedition was all killed, because he realized what the Cintamani Stone could do. It was too powerful for any person to have. So that's why Schaefer killed all his men and has been hiding. And then Schaefer dies. Heading towards Shambhala, Nate is able to find Chloe, who gives him the key when Nate says that he's going to take Lazarevich down. Nate is able to reunite with Elena at this point, and they are able to beat Lazarevich to the temple. They use the key to unlock the secret passage to Shambhala underneath the monastery. However, Lazarevich comes down after them, and he forces Nate to choose between Elena and Chloe. Chloe was snitched on by Flynn, and he says, I'm going to kill one. Which one do you want me to kill? Nate is able to talk his way out of it and says, I'll go find it for you. It's fine. So he goes with Flynn into the gate, through the ice caves, to open up the gate. When the gate opens, this group of monsters show up. I guess it's more the Yetis. They show up. Lazarevich kills them, though, and he pulls off their mask, and it turns out that these are human guardians of the Shambhala, and the Cintamani Stone makes them powerful, and they're dressed up like Yetis, like the monsters, to scare anyone off who tries to trespass in the city. Lazarevich is getting ready to kill Elena and Nate. Chloe, though, is able to be protected by Flynn, and more of these guardians show up and attack, which allows Nate, Elena, and Chloe to escape. Then we go inside Shambhala, and it's beautiful. This part of the game looks amazing. It looks so great. They make their way to the center part of the center temple, and they discover that the Cintamani Stone is in fact giant amber of petrified like blue resin in a giant prehistoric tree of life. So it's not actually like a rock you can take. And so the true worth of Shambhala is this blue sap in the tree, which makes anyone who drinks it almost invincible. When they get ready to go after Lazarevich, wounded Flynn arrives, and he has a grenade that he detonates. It kills himself, and it severely wounds Elena. Nate then leaves Elena with Chloe to have Chloe take Elena and her to safety. Nate's going to go after Lazarevich. Nate arrives as Lazarevich is drinking the tree sap, which makes him, of course, nearly indestructible, and you see his old wounds heal. This is pretty cool to see, actually. Scary because it's Lazarevich, but cool. Nate then blows up the resin as he goes around and fights Lazarevich, and then the Guardians show up, and then they kill Lazarevich while Nate escapes. Nate is able to reunite with Chloe and Elena, and they escape the city as explosions begin to destroy Shambhala. Nate sets Elena down when they get out, and it doesn't look good. Looks like she's going to die. Nate then begs Elena not to leave, and the video fades out. Then we're back at the village. Chloe asks Nate if he loves Elena, and Nate doesn't say anything. He doesn't deny it. Chloe then says goodbye to Nate, and Sully is leading a recovering Elena over to Nate. Elena and Nate pay respects at Schaefer's grave, and then hug. Then they kiss, and they walk over to the edge of the cliff to watch the sunset go down behind the mountain. Game over. I thought this was pretty cool as a game. Overall, first and foremost, I'd say excellent game. It really built on, I think, a lot of the good stuff from the first game, Drake's Fortune, and then expanded on it. I thought Drake's Fortune was a good game. I thought that Uncharted 2 was a great game. I thought it was excellent. One thing I really enjoyed in the game was traveling around the globe. It was cool being in Turkey, Borneo, Nepal, Tibet. Like, there were all these different cool settings that looked different and felt different. Like the Nepal, the jungle in Borneo. Like you had so many different cool settings that were great for fighting Lazarevich's men and, different set pieces. I really enjoyed that. I also liked the treasure hunting group expanding. Starting off with Chloe and Flynn. That was pretty cool. I was like, cool, we're part of a team. I'm into that. Like I thought that was a great way to start the game instead of just Nate by himself or Nate with Sully sometimes. This was cool. It seemed like it was, oh man, we're going to be a team. We're going to do stuff. Then getting double crossed, of course, was extra disappointing. You're like, are you fucking kidding? I was excited to be on a team. That was very cool. I like that a lot. And has me intrigued about future games. I assume that Nate has worked with other treasure hunters in the past at this point. I hope I get to meet them and are in the future games. So I like that a lot. I thought Flynn's death was sort of lame. I feel like it should have been, I guess, bigger on either end. So he blows himself with a grenade and it severely hurts Elena. You don't, and I don't know, these games they don't have to be gory or something, but you don't really see him die, but I mean, he had to have died, of course. But I wish that he would have either gotten a hero death, so maybe he takes out a bunch of Lazarevich's guys to let them escape, or maybe some guardians, or even if he killed Lazarevich somehow. I think something like that could have been, I mean, maybe you can't have him kill Lazarevich, maybe Nathan has to be a part of that, but something like that I thought could have been pretty cool. Or if the consequences were worse, like if Flynn doing that, he was able to kill Elena, or Chloe or something like that. I think that could have been interesting. So I kind of wish there was something a little more. That said, I'm 100% glad Elena's alive and 100% glad Chloe's alive. I assume that they both have significant roles in future games, and I want them around for them, and I'll enjoy having them there. But yeah, I just feel like Flynn's death should have maybe cost more or been a little different. I didn't see the Guardians situation happening. This was cool. So it started as a supernatural thing. You have these Yetis. Oh my gosh, this is insane. Then, oh wait, the Yetis are people. And then, oh wait, but they're supernaturally empowered by the Cintamani Stone tree sap. So it was kind of cool. It was like supernatural, not supernatural, supernatural again. Like, they really played with that really well. I liked that a lot. After the first game, when you had the kind of zombies, I was like, okay, supernatural things are possible, so when I saw the Yeti, I just accepted it. But then when the red Yeti was revealed to be a person, I couldn't believe it. And then, the Cintamani Stone stuff. It was cool. I really liked that. I thought that the game did a really good job of messing with my preconceived notions of what could be allowed in this world or not allowed. I like that a lot. Favorite part of the game for me was probably the village battle, and then the car chase that followed it. That was really fun, just fighting your way through there. A lot of good, a lot of good fights. Fighting the tank was pretty exhilarating. Getting to pick up different guns, and you're shooting different guys, but it was cool because you had all the Tibetan villagers with you, and Tenzin. It was nice. I liked having teammates in this. It wasn't just Drake against 15 guys. Instead, it was, 20 on 20 or 10 on 30, kind of deal. So that was cool. I liked that a lot. And then the car chase that follows, that was really fun, like blowing up different cars. And at one point, I think you get a heavy machine gun. You're gunning people down. That was really fun. It was great. That was a really excellent sequence in the game. Fighting on the train, I would say, is a close second. That was pretty fun, kind of jumping from car to car, fighting guys on top of the train, inside of the train. I really like that. Yeah, this game was great. This was really, really enjoyable. Good job, Naughty Dog, for Uncharted 2. Really cool. I have a little bit of listener feedback regarding the game. Chris on Twitter, he says that this is the Temple of Doom of the series. I like that comparison. Thought Temple of Doom was awesome for Indiana Jones. Uncharted 2, excellent. And I have a hard time wondering how Uncharted 3 or 4 can stack up, because Uncharted 2 was so awesome. And then I have a comment from Sato on Twitter that I asked about Uncharted, and she sent it around Uncharted 1, but I think I'd recorded just before, so I wasn't able to put it on that episode, so I figured I'd put it on this one. And they say, I loved it. I got the Nathan Drake collection with my PS4, and it blew me away that this game, from when I got it 9 years ago, was so visually stunning. There are many times I just stopped and looked at the scenery. I totally agree. I thought that Uncharted 1 itself looked great, and Uncharted 2 so much. I really liked being in the snow. I like seeing the villages. This game's really good in how it looks. It's very fun to play. It's very fun to look at. I definitely stood around and looked at things too. So, yep. I guess that's Uncharted 2 though for us, Among Thieves. If you have any thoughts on this game or any others, let us know at TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at StoryEverPod, or on Facebook at facebook.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. And we'll see you next time.